Every business can have a belief system. Double down on that first, because everything from there, it cascades into what you want to do. Like, who's the audience that's going to also potentially believe in this? Why would they believe in it? What's their problems related to that belief? I would start with that from a people first standpoint and see how much conviction there is at the company around that.
This is The Anonymous Marketer, a podcast where we tackle the biggest questions from the B2B marketing community. But instead of bringing on guests for a quick chat, every question comes from an anonymous source. These are the questions B2B marketers have but are afraid to ask. Let's start the conversation.
Hey, I'm Nick Bennett, and I'm excited to get into this episode and dive into some of the new anonymous questions that we received. But before we get into it, I wanted to do my part and highlight our supporters. If you're a marketer, it's likely you have attribution data spread across spreadsheets, your CRM, your marketing automation platform, and other places. With data all over the place, it's hard to understand what drives the highest quality leads. And that's why I want to tell you about Hockey Stack. After adding one single line of code to your website, Hockey Stack gives your company the ability to turn your marketing, sales, revenue, and product data into a unified picture. Hockey Stack provides the analytics and attribution data your B2B company actually deserves. Get a free trial, and in 5 minutes, you can start using the product. Sign up today at hockeystack.com. Hey, I'm Nick Bennett. I'm excited to get into this episode and go through some new anonymous questions. But before we get into it, I wanted to do my part and highlight our supporters. As marketers, we want to create content that enables our sales team to win deals. But 70% of the content that we create for sales never gets used. It's a waste of time and energy. But it doesn't have to be this way, and that's why you should know about Allego. Allego is an all-in-one sales enablement platform designed to help revenue teams reach their full potential. Allego makes it easy for sellers to share content in the field with the right context, and it helps drive sales and marketing alignment, it increases collaboration, it optimizes messaging, and more importantly, it gets you more closed-won deals. To learn more, visit allego.com. Fun fact, the average employee sends around 10,000 emails per year. That means a company with 100 employees sends over 1 million emails annually. That's 1 million missed opportunities to showcase your brand, grow your funnel, and close more deals. OpenSense turns every employee email into a beautifully branded targeted ad channel that returns 4 to 7% CTR on average. Now, the best part, it's one simple platform to manage email signatures, promote upcoming events, distribute content, and more on Outlook and Gmail. No manual work, no tedious targeting, just better campaigns all at scale. Sign up for a demo at opensense.com and get 10% off today. As a tech marketer, do you know which paid media platform brings in the highest ROI? If you don't know which platform sets you up for faster, more cost-efficient growth, then you're skipping the first step to securing more customers. You won't be able to attract, convert, and retain customers to ramp up revenue. That's why Directive developed The Verdict, a game-changing benchmark and data report from the performance marketing agency for tech brands. In this report, you'll discover which paid media platforms bring in the highest ROI so you can optimize your sales and marketing strategies. The Verdict report gives you valuable insights from over $150 million in ad spend from the top paid media platforms used for tech companies. Platforms like Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Bing, and Capterra. The report dives deep into key metrics from lead to customer for each platform and shares powerful strategies for how you can generate the greatest ROI for your tech company. You'll also learn about how Directive views the difference between marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, opportunity metrics, and customer acquisition costs. Don't only rely on your company's data of one. Take advantage of industry-wide insights to truly understand the paid media trends that impact your bottom line. Check out The Verdict today at directiveconsulting.com/Nick. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to The Anonymous Marketer. I'm your host, Nick Bennett, and today we're going to explore a two-part series because of how detailed this question is around how do you build a marketing org from scratch as part one, and then for part two, how do you get momentum with a brand new marketing org? And so I have my good friend, Mark Kilens with me today. Mark, how are you? You are an absolute legend, so I'm pumped that you can bring a lot of incredible insight to this.
Nick, what's up? Legend is a strong adjective to describe me, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Good to be with you, my friend.
Awesome. And so before we get started, I want to kind of like talk about how we got these questions. So the question came into our website. If you want to submit a question to the show, head to motionagency.io/anonymous. You'll see a form. Literally, I've gotten probably about 80 questions on there, all sorts of things from like very detailed questions like today to very like high level, surface level type things that marketers just, they need a place to turn. So many people turned to communities back when COVID happened. But the issue is with the communities, now their colleagues and peers are in communities too. And so they still feel somewhat judged for asking the questions that maybe they were going to ask. So this show has hopefully given people a great opportunity to ask these types of questions. So let's jump in today's anonymous question. And it's going to be a long one. So I'll read through everything. But a couple things to keep in mind with this anonymous source. So this person works at a SaaS data analytics company. They work on a marketing team of 2 to 5 people. And the question is, and again, it's going to be long, so stay with me. If the marketing organization did not exist and a marketing leader / organization was brought in and they had to create from scratch, true scratch, nothing existed at all. So including getting leads into Marketo HubSpot, scrub what existed because, again, no infrastructure existed, create the demand gen waterfall, create the lead scoring, ensure all integrations are working, work with the content or product marketing teams to ready appropriate content to utilize, and then get all marketing efforts firing to start leads flowing through this infrastructure. I've seen quite a few companies where marketing did not exist. Then once it was turned on, in a matter of a couple of weeks, the CEO deemed it was not working and turned it all off just to do cold calling, outbound only. So again, super detailed question. I think like I said, we're going to break this into 2 parts. So Mark's here to talk about how do we actually build a marketing org from scratch. Again, for those that don't know Mark, he worked at Drift, he worked at HubSpot. Him and I worked together at Airmeet. And he brings this whole lens from like a CMO view, which I just don't have. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So to get things started, Mark, can you share your experience with building a marketing organization from the ground up? And I think maybe Airmeet would be a good example of this for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Airmeet's marketing team, when I joined, was about 30 people. And it was more, entry level, individual contributor with some more like director, senior level roles. But going directly to the question, the first question I would ask this person back is, has the company found market fit, product market fit, or neither of those things? And there's a difference between market fit and product market fit. Basically, you have to ask yourself, like, where in the company's life cycle is it? And it might have even found product market fit, and now it's about go-to-market fit. And that'd be much more unusual, Nick, if the company's found go-to-market or is looking to find go-to-market fit and doesn't really have like any marketing going on. But it's possible. I mean, it's theoretically possible. So the question starts there. And then the second question is, who are you marketing to? Who would you be marketing to? Like, what's the audience and what types of companies? Assuming this is, you already said this is B2B. So I always start with that. If it's market fit, where like, the broad set of companies in these industries or sizes, using firmographic, demographic, other data points to justify we found like a market for what we've built, then I always start with like a strong generalist marketer who understands how to market in public and ship quickly and learn from what they ship. I mean, to me, that's most important. And this company having 2 marketers, 5 marketers, whatever the range is, I'd say then the next hire after that is really around what is the thing from a strategic standpoint, at the company's strategy in terms of acquiring new leads or building awareness or wherever the stage is, right? What's the skill set that's most appropriate for what the company needs? Maybe the company actually had a lot of leads because the founders have big networks and they already have a decent fouling brand, whatever. Then it's converting those leads into pipeline. That's different than if you have no following or audience or network, right? Or maybe the market is really constrained and niche. So then that's going to be much more targeted based marketing, right? So it's a combination of market and who that first marketing hire, or even like half time marketing hire is, to kind of determine the next one, along with the strategy and how you're going to influence or directly grow that most important KPI in the marketing and sales funnel. I'll pause there because I threw a lot out there, Nick.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think it's important too, because, this person, it seems like, there's already some type of, I guess, contacts or leads in the database, because they had to scrub what existed again because there was no infrastructure in place. So maybe, like you said, maybe that was the founders who had a solid brand or something like that. But I agree for sure. I go back and forth a lot. Like, so many people are like, should I hire a generalist or should I hire a specialist? And I am curious, like, when you are starting, like, in building a marketing organization, what's the inflection point of knowing when you need to bring on a specialist?
Well, I mean, an early stage company, does it say how many people are at the company overall?
I believe it is, let me just double check real quick. It looks like about 100.
Oh, that's a pretty big company then. So like, so I mean, you actually have a marketing team right there. Number one, like if you have 100 people, if you have 5 people, 10 people in your company, you got a marketing team because you can activate those people in some capacity. Some people will do a lot more than others, but there's a marketing team there, and there's a community already being created. 100 people is tremendous. I would then ask this person, what are the skill sets that other people, especially in sales, have, or CS, or a centralized finance team? Because it sounds like this person needs some help on RevOps, right? There's definitely a RevOps specialization that I would focus on there, but you might have someone who can help with that in another team. So you don't need to worry about that. If you have leads and contacts, then it's maybe more about how do you turn the demands and actually capture it in the form of revenue. So you don't need as much demand creation, which is more like, hey, step one, building that brand awareness, activating the community, building up, thought leadership. I mean, you probably need both at the end of the day if you're trying to create, a really successful large company from a revenue standpoint. But to me, it's looking across the business and who, especially at that size, 100 people, who's doing things that, marketing might eventually own that could be done today though, versus what the most immediate need. It sounds like an immediate need is you have all these leads and contacts. How do you prioritize them? So how do you find account fit? How do you find account intent? How do you find buyer fit and buyer intent and do programmatic marketing targeting? So, how do you target these different potential segments with the right offers through the right channels? And that sounds much more like a demand gen thing and or maybe a little product marketing. Product marketing even, right? Like you might have to start with that early on because it's a competitive market. And like you have to figure out how to kind of like cut through the noise. But sometimes product marketing can be done through the head of product for a long time, or even the founder, or someone else who's got that experience but can lend 50% of their week to product marketing. Um, yeah, this is an interesting situation. 2 to 5 people, 100 people. I would think you need at that point to have like probably one person starting to specialize in each of the core functions of marketing. So there's, brand slash content, there's product marketing, there's the demand slash revenue marketing side. There's maybe even at that point, you might have someone focused on ABM slash field marketing. That's, 4 or 5 people, start specializing in that way and hire these people with high potential, if not already existing experience in some level of leadership. Because that way, these people can then grow through the organization. You won't have to bring people on top of them. This keeps them, first off, way happier, way more motivated to keep being successful, keep adding a lot of value to the company. And this is only going to help them stay motivated. And then as they grow, they'll bring on maybe 1 or 2 people to their team over time as the business needs exist or show themselves. So yeah, to me, it sounds like that's how it would go probably.
Yeah, no, makes complete sense. Yeah, because it looked like creating lead scoring was important to them as well, and then it seemed like the content piece was important to them. Like, how do you get ready appropriate content to utilize to get all the marketing efforts? But again, you can't do that until the infrastructure is built. Ultimately, which you brought up a really good point. There's probably a lot of people in the company that could help out with those types of things. Now, I'm curious, like, If say you are this person and this person goes in and they're building everything from scratch, like how do you balance the tasks that maybe you take on personally versus those that you either hire for, or what you're seeing in today's market is a lot of companies are outsourcing that to, consultants or whatever.
Yeah, and so that was gonna be more one of my next like kind of recommendations is this idea of the Uberization of B2B go to market. Like it's just immense right now. Like and I would almost think that as a company could lean into that a bit, right? So if you think about like what's been going on in B2B marketing, there's been a lot of emphasis on we need to bring on full-time people that constrains the business from a cost standpoint. A full-time, the most expensive thing in your marketing team is our people. Almost guaranteed. There's some exceptions for sure. There's definitely exceptions, but most of the expenses is headcount, not programmatic, not software, not miscellaneous. So you might bring on for some of these, areas of specialization or deep specialization, consultant, an advisor. I would not do an advisor, but a consultant, a contractor, someone who's going to do the work and even teach you how to do some of that work. And maybe they eventually become full time or whatever, but they probably have a big enough network where they could help you find someone to fill that job as well. So I definitely would explore that. I'd also explore like with content, especially bring up the point around content. I mean, a good agency, you have someone who gets content, but isn't going to be the best person to create that content. A good agency like Campfire Labs, I've used them a lot in the past, can bridge that gap until it's justified from an ROI standpoint, or there's the desire from the founder or whoever to like really double down on content. That could be another good play. The thing I'm saying is really rooted in the idea of agility. So the more agile you can be, especially in today's kind of economic environment, the better you can be. But I do think those options are appropriate, and it's really about what's the strategy that fits into where the company is from a stage standpoint, market fit, product market fit, go to market fit, and what are the complementary skills needed and just direct skills needed to execute the strategy. I always think and deliver on the goals because there's a strategy because there's goals in place. So are we struggling in one spot versus the other spots, and how important is that comparative to where we are from a revenue standpoint? That's where I would think about how to double down on your investment because you might even say like, look, we have this gold mine of contacts, and we just need help with like lead scoring, account scoring, contact scoring, prioritization of all that, personalized follow-up. Well, then let's like bring in like actually some extra contractors or consultants to double down on that, build that out, get that in a really good spot, and then we could pivot it to another part of the marketing organization.
Yeah, I love that. That's really great advice. And I think that, again, you're seeing that a lot in today's economy. It's like there's just so much that, want to get done. And with all the rifts that are happening in today's world, I am seeing more companies like willing to work with external resources, and whatever that turns into, who knows. But it's interesting. And you did bring up, outside of budget, because again, I think budget is definitely dependent upon like the stage of the company. I don't know, is this a series A? Is this a series C? Whatever. Like there's budget required for hiring, outsourcing, leveraging internal resources. But in terms of technology, what would you say is the minimal tech stack needed for a new marketing org?
I mean, you need a CRM. You need
Yeah.
some type of contact database. So I would use a CRM. I mean, HubSpot's got a great free CRM. I would use something like that. Outside of that, you need a CMS. You need a website. So you need a CMS. I mean, I don't know. Outside of that, you really don't need anything else, in my opinion. I mean, again, this company seems like it's a little bit maybe more mature than that potentially. They might need like a business intelligence tool that would actually run some of this account scoring and intent scoring behind the scenes. I think you could theoretically do that with the CRM, but depending on the scope of that, it might get too involved and it won't perform well enough. But I mean, your marketing automation email, yeah, sure, that can be looped into the CRM these days. There's all-in-one tools, like I said, HubSpot, but there's probably three things at the most. At the very most, it's a middle of the funnel type of marketing, email type technology. There's a CMS and there's a CRM. Outside of that, I, you know, to justify something else, It depends on the motion, right? Like, if you're thinking about doing a lot of webinars, well, you need something there probably, right? If you feel like that's going to be a driving force of your go to market, right? But even with that stuff, it's all crawl, walk, run. With every MarTech solution you can buy now, you can find a crawl, walk, run approach to buying that solution. Crawl is free, walk is low cost, run is a much more serious investment. And so that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, and we didn't even, and this could be another whole episode, but like the whole like AI side of it, it's like there's so many different AI pieces that are out there now that you could leverage at very low cost to do a lot of these things too, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean that goes back to the point of like 2 to 5 people or 100 people of the company. I actually did a post today as we were recording this inside of the B2B membership club you and I co-founded, Club PF, around finding some people in the company who are just interested in AI and giving them a charter to go off and try stuff. Right? This is sales, CS, product, marketing. Like, hey, like you're interested in learning about this and how it applies to your job. We're going to give you a small budget. We're going to give you these guardrails. We're going to check in on a regular cadence, whatever that cadence is, every 2 weeks, every month. And you're going to start to teach the rest of the company what you're learning and disseminate that information out. And we'll then over time making larger investments in that technology. I mean, over time, you'll be able to bring in someone who has 6, 12 months or more of experience using a variety of different AI tools to augment a human's time when it comes to different marketing tasks. So yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, there's another piece, kind of going back to like what one of the parts of the question was. It was like, they've seen few companies where marketing did not exist. And then once it was turned on in a matter of a couple of weeks, the CEO deemed it was not working. Couple of weeks. First off, couple of weeks is not going to give you the results that you want. But they turned it, like they
Ex-
said, cold calling and outbound. Yeah, they think that's the answer. And I'm curious, like, going back to what we're big believers in and like that people first mindset, how do you ensure that your team's aligned to a people first principles in it? I mean, starting from the top down internally.
Well, you need to have like a belief system. Like, does this company have something that it's bringing employees and its current customers and community around, like a rally cry? It's this is what we believe, and here's why we believe it, and who can kind of believe that with us, ideally, right? So it's the story, the point of view, the belief system. Like, is that in a position? And any business can have this. An example: Oatly, the oat milk company, clear belief system, right? And that's a B2C transactional company. I could go, and then you have the Apples, then you have Patagonias, then you have the HubSpots, you have the Drifts, you have the Lavenders, right? Like any stage, any type, any small company. I got, I'm in Maine right now. There's small businesses down the road for me that I can share with you, like what they believe. Hey, like literally, there's one company, there's one restaurant that believes the best way to eat is the freshest farm to table food, right? Like that is their belief system, and that's how they design the entire experience. Every business can have a belief system. So double down on that first, because everything from there, it cascades into what you want to do. Like, who's the audience that's going to also potentially believe in this? Why would they believe in it? What's their problems related to that belief? The types of businesses they work at, like all the way through, right? So I would start with that from a people first standpoint and see how much conviction there is at the company around that. And I can tell you firsthand, like that is a job of the CEO, founders, and executive leaders at that company to be all aligned and honed in on that belief system. If there's any cracks in that, it's not going to be as effective. And there's major cracks, it will just eventually like dry out and just not work out. So yeah, I think that more tactical things. I always say, Nick, once you have like 3 people at a company, 2 or 3 people, it could be two, 2 or 3 people, you're starting to form a community. That's like the initial community. And yes, to grow it, you need a spark, you need other things that are going to help it take shape, take hold, and have staying power. But 100 people, I mean, that's not a small company. That's big.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, honestly, like you mentioned that spark and that belief system, it's gonna drive and motivate people to want to join, to want to create, to want to help grow the business, which is gonna, everyone's gonna win from that.
Exactly.
Awesome. So wrapping up this, and we're going to come back for part 2 on like how do you actually go deeper on this and how do you build momentum. But what can you share from your learnings or any insights from your personal journey that might be helpful for others? And I mean, if you have any, tactical stuff here that you can kind of leave people with. But what I usually like to do is like, hey, what are, 2 or 3 things that you could say like, hey, listen, if you want to go build a marketing org from scratch, or if you're listening to this and you're going to go build a marketing org from scratch, focus on these 2 or 3 things. And you can take this to regardless of whatever industry or vertical or segment that you're going to. You can implement this and you're going to at least build the foundation of what's needed.
Always be recruiting, and I can unpack that in however you want.
Yeah.
Get really good at interviewing. And what I mean by that is, even if it's like just you're hiring for like 1 or 2 roles, have a process defined, have all the stakeholders who are part of that interview process understand it, understand what you're looking to do, why you're looking to do that, what their job is in the interview process. Get that very tight and very well articulated. Do debriefs every single time you talk to a candidate that is involved in like a group or interview, with like 4 or 5 people, 3, 4, 5 people. Do a debrief with those people that talk to that candidate on a one-to-one basis, and trust your gut. I mean, that's a tough one. That comes with experience, but don't only use data to make decisions. And interviewing is much more of a gut thing than a data thing anyway, right? There's how much data you're going to have from an interview set standpoint, unless you're doing a lot of interviews and you can accumulate a lot of interesting data points pre, during, and then obviously post hire of people for like 90, 180 days, 365 days, right? That whole talent management cycle. But at an early stage, it's about getting other people involved in the interview process that aren't just marketers. And you kind of like, you're forced to do that too, if it's a team. So I think for this size company, like I would have the founder interview the CEO interview this person, the people that get to the final stage as well. Brian did that. I was interviewed by Brian Halligan. I vividly remember that interview. And he did that until about 150 people at HubSpot. And that makes a big difference in my opinion.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's great advice. And I've worked for a few companies. Clary, the CEO and founder of Clary he was interviewing people in that final round as well. And it was more just like, it was just so interesting to see like what the vision is from someone that's actually like built the company. I mean, yeah, like you could ask anyone in the company that you're interviewing, hey, what's the vision for the company? If I'm going to join an early stage company or whatever that is, and like you're basically, maybe you're leaving something a bit more safe. Why am I going to take a risk on you? And to hear that from a founder or a CEO that like, I mean, they're the ones that want the business to be successful ultimately. Like to hear those insights was really impactful for me personally.
Yeah, and the other thing I would have them interview for, along with a couple other people's culture addition, not fit, but like the addition they're going to bring to the culture, that they should strengthen the culture, not hurt the culture. So that's the other thing that you should really look out for, no matter the stage or size of the company.
Yeah, love that. No, absolutely. No, this was fantastic. And for everyone listening, we are going to be dropping a part 2 in the next episode, where Mark and I are going to go a bit deeper on how do you actually get momentum going with the brand new marketing org. So we've dealt with how do you build a marketing organization from scratch. Honestly, we probably could have went for hours. This is very much scratching the surface, but we got the important parts through, I think. And so now we'll go a little bit deeper on how do you actually get the momentum after you build that marketing org. So Mark, thank you so much for joining me. We will catch everyone in part 2, and we'll catch y'all soon.
See ya.
Thanks for checking out this episode of The Anonymous Marketer. For more episodes, check us out wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or visit us on the web at motionagency.io/anonymous. And finally, this show is produced by Motion, a done-for-you podcast agency for small, scrappy B2B tech marketers. To learn how you can launch and grow a podcast for your company, visit motionagency.io.